Brian Norton, had a conversation with him. His right front, the lower control arm, I mean, it was just, he was towed out 5 inches.
Wow. I know they like a lot of toe out on those dirt cars, but 5 inches.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was.
That's a bit much.
That's a lot of much.
Well, and another thing, we keep talking about the track conditions. Another thing, last week, I think Wednesday and Thursday, it rained like hell.
Right.
Yep.
Okay,
right.
so we still have not been able to get to a week or two of consecutive dry weather. We keep getting these damn rainstorms, and it's making it impossible to get that track nice. Mm-hmm. Well, and hopefully we're going to get to it this week.
Well, and here's the thing: having conversations with several drivers, weather. Okay, we know that weather has not been our friend this year by any means. All. Now, this weekend we're going to see completely opposite. We're going to see 100-degree temperatures,
right,
or near the 100-degree mark. Here's the other thing and it's not just my opinion. We're talking about several drivers that you've spoke with. We've all talked to several drivers. Right. One of the big contributing factors to seeing these rough conditions, and you guys have heard it from a lot of these drivers, is the G60 tire itself.
Right.
The narrower tire is not helping, especially given what the weather has done to the track.
Right.
Now, when you've got all these cars on the big wide slicks, it tends to help lay that thing down a little better.
And we saw that this weekend, too. We tried something different out at the Speedway with only having the wide tires pack the track, the asphalt slicks and the D55s. Didn't work out the way we wanted it to, so we're gonna try something different here because of the weather conditions. It's something we haven't had to battle in years.
Right.
I know that Jerry has had. There's been a couple of us that have had conversations with Chris Knopfsinger about, hey, this is what we're fighting. How do we win this battle?
Right.
And there's been a lot of conversations going on between Christopher and a couple of us, so I know they're gonna try it.
Has he had some input to something different to try, or
we have reached out, and there are some ideas out there that are being floated, so hopefully we see an improvement this weekend for this weekend's race with this, and especially with the sprint cars showing up. You don't want that rough track, because if you have that rough track, that can be absolutely disastrous.
Yeah. So and I think what we're talking about, the weather this weekend, perfect time for the sprint car to show up. 100-degree weather, that track is going to dry out. Well, now, we want it dry and smooth for those guys. You don't want it dry and rough. But the fact that it's going to be dry and slick.
And especially after having tough trucks this last weekend, that moves some clay around on the racetrack to make that tough truck course and trash car course. So with moving the clay around, that creates another factor we've got to deal with, at the Speedway.
It may help, it may hurt it. You just don't know.
We don't know what's going to happen. We won't know, no one will know what the track's going to do until after qualifying.
Well, I tell you what, when I traveled with Joey Tanner, we went down to Antioch, they used a sheep foot on that track down there.
That's a great tool.
And, of course, it's pretty much dry down there all the time, so it's hard to say that that's what can take credit for the nice track. But that track stayed nice. It started nice, stayed nice, and they had no troubles with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know, maybe something like that if it's feasible. Well, I have no idea.
That's part of the reason why the old tractor's been brought out on the racetrack. It's got a lot deeper bar lug on it, so that when we're packing the track using that tractor, it's not a sheep's foot, but it's the closest thing that we have at Willamette Speedway to a sheep's foot.
I see.
Push that moisture down deep.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully the nice, dry, hot weather here shows us an improvement in the track conditions. I think that'll help bring...
Mother Nature is that 21st racer we have to deal with.
Well,
every week.
The other thing is, Mother Nature is she's
got
been
that established.
She's been terrible.
She's been a bitch.
Everything. Well, truly, she has.
Yeah.
She really has. The other thing is, and again, you've got your expert track prep master gone. Mm-hmm. He's not there. Now you've got people trying to learn how to prep a racetrack under the worst possible conditions.
Right.
Or the worst conditions we've seen, like you said, Joel, in years. I don't remember seeing anything like this in the last 15 years. It's been terrible. At some point, it'll get figured out. The track will, something's going to happen one way or the other.
It's just an unfortunate set of circumstances. With Christopher not being there and with Mother Nature being the way she has to us and being a royal pain in the hind end, it is, I'll be the first one to admit it, and it's no fault of track ownership. It's no fault of anyone. It's just an unfortunate set of circumstances.
Well, and like I said, the whole package. You got guys that don't have that knowledge to prep a track under those circumstances. Now, here's a funny story. I'm going to tell you about a conversation I had with a driver. Okay, I had it with a driver that called their chassis manufacturer for advice. Said, "Look, here's what we're racing on. This is the deal. This is what the track's doing. What setup do I put under the car?" You know what the manufacturer told them?
Go to a different racetrack.
Load up. When the tracks do that back here, we don't race those tracks. He goes, the whole field will load up. He goes, if it's that bad, load it up. We don't have a setup for something like that. Honest to God, this is a conversation that took place. I'm not making stuff up. This is, and again, names don't need to be said, but
well, in a perfect world, okay, I can see it.
Right,
it's not going to happen here.
Now.
So the next best thing to do is figure out how to fix it.
Yep,
and that's the thing. I think picking Chris's brain, asking for advice from Chris, will help immensely. Again, it's just everything is stacked up against the odds, with the conditions and just the knowledge isn't there. That's not talking bad about anybody. That's just stating simple facts. Once that knowledge is there and this game is figured out, we won't have to fight this anymore. Going back to this sportsman race, we're talking about my allergies are starting to kick in really hard. Going back to the sportsman race, I do believe the man we would have seen win this had to pull off the track. I think it was his race, Ryan Emery.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back to sportsman's. Ryan Emery had a big lead. And
he did.
While we're talking about track conditions, again, this contributed to him not winning this race when he had a hole punched in the pan when the car went into the corner, and he posted a picture of that online. It destroyed that pan.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, because I do think it was his race. It was his night to win that deal, and it's just one of those deals. Things happen in racing you can't control, and the outcome was there was 5 or 6 laps left.
2
laps.
Yeah.
2 laps left. Yeah, there was when it happened, and we saw some fluid coming out of his car down the backstretch. Warren,
smoke.
We saw that, and he pulled up to turn 3. They took a look at it. He saw the pressure dropping, shut the car off, didn't hurt the engine, and said, that is what it is. They put him on the hook and took him back.
Very wise move on his part.
It was good he got that thing shut off when he saw that pressure dropping.
Yeah,
that's
it
saved him a
ball.
motor. It saved him a motor. So
that's heads up driver right there.
Well, we're getting some action here on the Swears Trucking. Okay. Wow.
So while you're reading that, I'll go through the rest of the list.
Yeah,
we got
please do
Slover
that.
winning, Jeff Rash in second, Jody Tanner in third, Lauren Cruzy fourth, Ken Frisbee fifth, Eric Lindquist sixth, Clyde Rude seventh, Ryan Emery finished in eighth after all that. Glenn Hackney in ninth, Chris Frisbee in 10th, Dylan Sullum in 11th, Jeff Titus in 12th, Casey Rhodes 13th, and Bradley Leto in 14th. There was, it appears, only 6 cars on the lead lap to finish that race.
Yeah. Yep. So we're getting some action here on the Swears Trucking chat line. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I'm going to read some of the comments coming in right here, okay? This person says, the dirt at every track is different. What works at Grove or Sunset does not always work at Willamette and vice versa. The next one that comes in says, now we know why back in the day Claire didn't want modifieds racing there because of the sharp edges of the tires rutting up the track. Now we have 3,300-pound cars racing on them. Okay, valid point. I mean, I said that earlier.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the problem, especially with the track conditions. I do think that's contributing. The next person says, agreed, it's stupid. Too many G60 tires on that track.
When you think about it, we have this night alone, we had over 50% of the field on G60s or 8-inch tires.
Right. Or that right there is, you cannot argue that.
No,
there's no, and we all, and if you're around racing,
all right. So what's the solution? Put the modifieds on slicks.
You can't do that.
You can't do that because of the IMCA rules,
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Well,
take the street stocks off of
the
G60s.
I agree.
Okay.
That's going to be part of the solution. I think part of the solution still is in the prep of the track.
Well,
because
because
here's the thing: you have races like Super Nationals in Boone. You have races at Las Vegas, where it's all G60s.
Right.
The track does not do that. Or they farm the track more frequently, or they have a different track prep procedure. There are things that we need to figure out here at Willamette Speedway for our clay and our cars to make it a smooth racing surface again.
I think, and I'm with several people here on the Swears Trucking chat line. There's several of them chiming in, and they're all saying the same thing. Street stocks back to slicks. I agree. You put those heavy cars on those big wide tires, it's going to help roll that track in. It's going to help that track lay down. Especially
this is part of the new rule as of this year, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay,
right.
so this is the one that Jerry did say was still basically testing the waters.
No, that was a late model tire rule.
That was just late model.
This is a set rule.
Okay.
Street stocks on G60s.
Okay.
But I agree with this opinion because the heavy cars on the big wide slicks, especially on a track this soft, I think it would help smooth the track and lay it down. Do you agree with that?
I agree.
It makes sense.
It makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me.
Is it feasible to do that? I mean, what's management going to say? What's the rule makers going to say about doing that? Is it
they've had their say? They've put the rule in, and we're seeing. And I'm not saying that's the reason. It's part of it. It's part of it. It's contributing. Now in August when it's 100 degrees, we're probably not going to see this type of racetrack, but it's not helping.
Right. And we can't count on next summer being summer before this summer arrived.
Right.
I mean, we just can't count on nice weather in the Northwest ever.
Right.
It can rain at any given time. So, yeah.
It's interesting to see
like
how some of these rules have changed the divisions, how divisions are racing, and what's going on underneath them with simply making a tire rule like this.
It sounds like we need to have a sit-down with the Mucky Mucks and see if something like that isn't possible.
That's something that the drivers need to do if they feel that that's what is going on. I mean, there's nothing that we are going to do to change that.
Well,
we can give our opinion. We can give feedback. We can say what we've seen in the past versus what we're seeing now, and certainly
just like everybody else, it's our opinions.
Exactly,
right.
And that's the thing right now is that we can either be part of the problem or part of the solution.
Well, and I think if we
good point,
yeah, and if I think we all band together to find a solution, which is something that needs to be done, I can say
instead of just dragging up,
right. Yeah,
you definitely don't want to see people doing that. So before
but
that
we're
happens,
seeing it.
We need to get a solution.
We're seeing it. It's happening.
All right, then we need to sit down and get a solution.
Now is the time when you start seeing that stuff to say, hey, look, we've got to find something. We've got to make a correction. We've got to figure out what we're doing here in all aspects.
Yeah.
With rules, with, picking Chris's brain, whatever it might be.
Well, let's see how this weekend goes.
Well, and I think this is the weekend that'll probably change everything because now we're going to move into what is typically the warmer part of the season. Hopefully we can get a smooth track. Hopefully it'll lay down nice and slick, and we'll see some great racing.
Regardless, we're going to see some great racing.
Well, we will. We know that. There's no doubt. But I want to see some great racing without a bunch of broken race cars and drive lines and springs and stuff flying out of cars.
Super Sport qualifying.
Super Sport qualifying. Listen to this. Dan Dybel again was the fast qualifier
in the charity car.
In the Ford-powered charity car.
It's a Ford. It's a Ford crate motor.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a Ford crate motor. 15.938 was fast time.
The only one in the 15s.
He was
by a long shot.
Yeah.
Now listen to this. Where's my okay, so 15.938.
Yeah.
A little heavier car on the slick tires with the sideboards. When you compare that 15.938
to
the late models,
okay,
it would have put him ninth fast. Exactly 1 second off of the fast qualifying time in the late model division.
Wow.
Dybel has got this car. Him and Norm Davis,
without a doubt.
Man, did you watch when he got to the lead in the feature? Did you watch what that 74 car did?
Hit the turbos?
Barring that late caution that we had, did you watch how far out front that car was?
Yeah, he was gone.
He was flying. Now, Jordan Wright, did you watch how fast that 33 car was?
Mm-hmm.
He finished second. He was at one point nearly a half lap behind Dybel in second, and he wasn't catching him.
Yeah.
Now, that caution came out. It bunched the field up, which, I mean, Dybel didn't want to see that. It was everything that